It appears that you terminated these two agents. Why?
I'm not going to get into personnel decisions that we made.
Two men, hundreds of combat hours between them, and the FBI director just told the senator he won't say why he fired them. Stay with this. It gets worse. This is the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, one of the longest-serving members of this body, is not asking a favor. He's reading from a file. Across from him, Kash Patel, the man running the FBI, is doing something you rarely see a sitting director do on camera, forgetting things, one question at a time. Not forgetting small things, forgetting whether he signed off on keeping people employed, forgetting a whistleblower complaint, forgetting the reason he fired a decorated combat pilot. By the end of this hearing, you'll know exactly who those two war heroes were and exactly what happened when Durbin refused to let the answer be, "I'm not going to get into it." But first, you need to see how this pattern started, because it didn't start with the firings. It started with a polygraph machine.
Tell FBI agents pledge their loyalty to the Constitution of the United States, not you personally. What is the basis for requiring polygraph exams of your workforce and asking them if they've made negative comments about you?
40 officials, polygraphed. Some of them asked, on the record, whether they had ever said anything negative about the man now running the Bureau. Not about national security, about him.
I don't know what reports you're referring to, Ranking Member, and I reject any reporting that has false information in it, so I'm not going to respond to that. As far as polygraphs go, generally they are always and always have been utilized at the FBI to track down those that leak sensitive information and have unauthorized disclosures to the media, and we will continue to use them to ensure the integrity of the FBI.
Notice the sequence. First, reject the premise. Then, answer a completely different question than the one asked. Durbin didn't ask about leak investigations in general. He asked why loyalty to a person was being tested inside an agency that swears loyalty to the Constitution. That question is still sitting there, unanswered.
Did any individual on your senior executive team, the director's advisory team, or who serve in the positions on the 7th floor receive disqualifying alerts on their polygraphs?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the personnel discussions that were had on a polygraph. Those are private discussions, and many of them relate to ongoing investigations.
A direct yes or no question about his own inner circle. The answer that comes back is a wall, not a word.
Did you or Attorney General Bondi provide any individual with a waiver so they could remain employed after they received disqualifying alerts on their polygraphs?
I'll have to get back to you.
You don't remember that?
Watch that exchange again in your head. A yes or no question about a decision he would have had to personally sign off on. And the answer is not yes, not no, it's "I'll have to get back to you," as if this were a scheduling conflict and not a question about who gets to break the rules he set.
No, sir. My priority is protecting the American public, not getting into the weeds of polygraphs.
And to have a decent memory when you come before a committee.
That line landed exactly where it was aimed, because this isn't the last time in this hearing that the director's memory is going to fail him at a suspiciously convenient moment. Keep count. It happens again in under 2 minutes. Durbin let him pivot to crime statistics. Let him talk about Chicago. Let him finish his applause line about local law enforcement. Then he brought the conversation back to somewhere much darker, a name most viewers had never heard connected to this hearing.
Director Patel, to your knowledge, did a whistleblower ever make a disclosure to Attorney General Bondi indicating that the New York field office was withholding Epstein-related records?
I'm not familiar with that whistleblower.
You know that there was such a whistleblower?
I'm not familiar with that whistleblower.
Say the same sentence twice, word for word, and it stops sounding like an answer. It starts sounding like a script.
In response to the blowback she received, Attorney General Bondi also pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memorandum stating there is no incriminating client list. Why was this July 7th memorandum unsigned?
Would you prefer I've used AutoPen?
Read that answer again. A senator asks why an official government finding has no signature on it. The response is a joke about a rubber stamp. That's not a defense of the document. That's a deflection dressed as a punchline.
Well, why was it unsigned?
The memorandum had the insignia of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And in our effort to secure transparency for the American people, because the 3 prior administrations had not done so, we conducted an exhaustive search of everything related to the Epstein cases, and we produced what was legally and permissibly able to be produced to Congress and the American public.
So
and there's a congressional subpoena, and we're continuing to do so.
Did you personally direct that investigation so that you would sign such a...
Did I personally direct what investigation?
Of the Epstein records for any reference to President Trump?
Again, you are citing reporting that I think is baseless. We conducted an investigation of the Epstein case files pursuant to the direction of the President of the administration to provide all credible information, and we are working with Congress pursuant to a congressional subpoena to turn over all the documents we can.
An insignia stands in for a signature. A subpoena stands in for a name. Every time Durbin asks who is personally responsible, the answer gets one layer more abstract.
All individuals.
Who at DOJ and FBI was responsible for its drafting and conclusions?
Many individuals at the Department of Justice and the FBI are responsible.
There was no lead person?
The Attorney General leads the Department of Justice, and I lead the FBI.
So the Attorney General was responsible for that?
A document with no signature, a conclusion with no author, and a director who leads the agency that wrote it, but somehow isn't the one responsible for what it says. Remember that sentence, because in a few minutes, this exact move, no one is personally responsible, is going to show up again in a completely different subject. Here's the question worth carrying into the next few minutes. If the director can't tell you who signed a memo, can he tell you why his own deputy director accused the government of staging a domestic terror attack?
The Attorney General leads the Department of Justice.
Director Patel, much like you, Deputy Director Dan Bongino was a conspiracy theorist who built a lucrative career making inflammatory and unsubstantiated statements about the FBI that would be disqualifying in any administration that cared about nonpartisan law enforcement. For instance, Mr. Bongino called the placement of pipe bombs outside the DNC and RNC headquarters on January 6, quote, an inside job, and went on to say this was a setup. I have zero doubt, and whoever goes into the FBI, you better get an answer about why. Director Patel, you and Deputy Director Bongino are now leading the FBI. What is the evidence to suggest the pipe bombs placed outside of the DNC and RNC on January 6 were an inside job?
This is not Durbin's accusation. This is the deputy director's own past words, read back to the man who now has the FBI's entire investigative file at his disposal. If there's evidence, this is the moment to produce it.
I appreciate the opportunity to discuss Director Bongino's mind record. So many on this committee and the media jettison our 31 years of public service.
Can you answer the question, sir?
I'm answering the question. You're questioning the integrity of the deputy director of the FBI and mine. And I'm going to answer the question. The pipe bomb investigation is ongoing, and I'm not going to discuss the details of the pipe bomb investigation. Mr. Bongino was a Secret Service agent for 15 years, a police officer for 5. I served this country in multiple administrations for 16 years. We were also private citizens, and we are now back in government service. And what we have the ability to do is set aside our personal beliefs to deliver the mission of justice for this country, and we're doing it day in and day out. And I find it disgusting that everyone and anyone would jettison our 31 years of combined experience that is now at the helm of the FBI, delivering historic results at historic speeds for the American people.
31 years of combined resume, and not one sentence of it answers the question. Durbin didn't ask about Bongino's career. He asked for the evidence behind a specific, on-the-record claim that a federal building was bombed by its own government. That question is still open.
So you have no evidence?
I got a lot of evidence, and I'll give it to you when I can.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
A lot of evidence, available at some undefined future date. That is the exact same shape as "I'll have to get back to you" from 4 minutes earlier. different subject, same escape hatch. This is the moment the title of this video comes from. Pay close attention to the two names you're about to hear, because in a moment, they stop being names in a news story and become two specific human records the director cannot explain away.
There's a New York Times story this morning about Chris Meyer. As I understand it, he was your personal pilot, at least for some period of time. Mr. Meyer has quite a record himself. Flew over 350 hours as an Air Force pilot on 3 aircraft types in Afghanistan. Mr. Jordina, another former FBI agent, a 1999 graduate of U.S. Naval Academy, commanded 100 Marines in combat during the 2003 invasion of Iraq, participated in several firefights, followed up with 2011 deployment as a reservist to Afghanistan, where he interrogated senior Taliban officials. It appears that you terminated these 2 agents. Why?
350 combat flight hours, 100 Marines commanded under fire in Iraq, senior Taliban interrogations in Afghanistan. This is not a resume. This is a service record most Americans would call heroic without hesitation. And according to Durbin, both men were fired.
I'm not going to get into personnel decisions that we made.
So you're not accountable for your decisions to take people who served our country so admirably and terminate them without any cause?
That's a one-sided story. Anyone that has been terminated from the FBI, generally speaking...
Listen to what just happened. Durbin lays out a documented combat record. Patel's response isn't to dispute a single fact in it. It's to call the story one-sided, without offering the other side himself, in the one setting built specifically for him to do exactly that.
His beliefs fail to meet the needs of the FBI and uphold their constitutional duties, and you providing a one-sided story from your perch is absolutely disgraceful, because the men and women of the FBI deserve better. And your attack on the current leadership of the men and women of the FBI is equally disgraceful, because now you're attacking the leaders that are our brave SACs in the field who are doing the job that this country needs. And we will continue to do it.
Excuse me, it's disgraceful when Mr. Meyer and Mr. Jordina, who served our country so well, are terminated apparently because of the rants of a broadcaster.
That is your opinion. It is not a fact.
Well, it's certainly, my opinion, I can back up with fact.
He says he can back it up with fact. In the next sentence, in the same hearing, with the microphone still on, he does not. That offer just sits there, unfulfilled, exactly like the evidence for the pipe bomb claim 2 minutes earlier. 2 decorated servicemen, no explanation on the record. That alone would be the headline of most hearings. Durbin wasn't finished. He had one more file open, and this one wasn't about a firing. It was about who was still allowed to keep working and what they'd been stopped from finishing.
Let me ask you to explain the situation in Baltimore, if you will. Did you read the story about the termination of the project in Baltimore?
Which story?
764 Group.
Sorry. Which story?
764 Group.
The Baltimore agents were investigating. Are you familiar with that?
No, sir.
Read that exchange again slowly. For a moment, neither man is sure who is asking whom about this case. That confusion, on its own, tells you how far removed the director is from a decision that was made under his own authority.
Well, I'm not going to go into detail. It would take too long to do it. But apparently that this group, 764, a nihilistic, violent extremist group, seeks to blackmail children to perform vile acts on a camera, under investigation by Baltimore, which was terminated by you. I'd like you to respond in writing, if you will, as to the circumstances of that termination.
Say the sentence back to yourself, slowly. An investigation into a group that blackmails children on camera. Shut down. And when asked about it directly, the director's first response wasn't a defense, it was a question about whether the senator had read a news story, because he hadn't yet connected the case to his own decision.
Our operations against NVEs, as you're referring to, has been historically high, and we've taken down multiple NVE rings, including 764 rings, who are harming children and causing them to be mutilated and
Last question, suicide. Can you explain why you are eliminating the requirements for a college degree for your agents?
I appreciate the opportunity to address that. You said in your opening statement, we are reducing the training requirements at Quantico. We are not. We are expanding them. You are referring to an 1811 crossover program because I believe the men and women of places like the DEA, the ATF, and the Marshal Service and the Secret Service who want to work at the FBI should deserve that opportunity in a shortened bridge program, which we provided. We are also keeping the 18-week BFTC as is traditionally been held at the FBI. So we're not reducing any requirements. We are increasing those that we bring into the FBI.
Did you change any of the requirements on college degrees?
We are allowing police officers who have served for a number of years to come into the FBI who did not obtain the requisite college degree to apply to be federal agents because we feel they have the street-level experience we need to conduct this mission.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
A general claim about historically high enforcement offered in the same breath as an admission that this specific case was terminated. Neither statement explains the other. The written answer Durbin asked for is still pending. Lay every piece from the last 10 minutes side by side because they only make sense together. A polygraph program that asks employees about their personal feelings toward the director defended with an answer to a different question. A waiver decision the director can't remember making. A whistleblower he says he isn't familiar with, repeated twice, word for word. A memorandum with no signature and, according to his own testimony, no single person responsible for its conclusions. An inside job claim from his own deputy director defended with a resume instead of evidence. Two decorated combat veterans fired with an explanation the director himself refused to give in the one room built for giving it. And a child exploitation investigation shut down that the director needed a moment to even recognize as his own decision. Not one of these was ever actually answered. Every time, the pattern repeated. Reject the premise, cite an ongoing process, promise a follow-up that hasn't come, or answer a different question than the one asked. Durbin never raised his voice. He just kept asking why until the answer ran out. No leak did this. No anonymous source did this. He did it to himself, under oath, on camera. He yielded back his time. The written answers on the firings and on Baltimore are still owed. What isn't owed is the record itself. It's on tape in his own words for anyone to watch. What would you have asked him about Chris Meyer and Jordina?